Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Poo, and welcome to Taraxa's a special edition of Taraxa's AMA with a focus on explaining the Mainnet Candidate. And Happy New Year, Happy 2022. I think it's going to be a great year for everyone, and it's going to be a great year for Taraxa as well. So today we're going to actually try something a little bit different. I think we're going to try a simple PowerPoint presentation to go through some of the major changes that we're introducing in the Mainnet Candidate and to explain some of the core concepts of the Mainnet Candidate. So let's get to it, and hopefully it works well. Okay. So today our primary topic is going to be the Mainnet Candidate. So there are three primary purposes, right? Three primary purposes for deploying the Mainnet Candidate. The first one is really to deploy true community staking-based consensus. So we want to make sure that the community is familiarized with the way that community-driven staking-based consensus works. At the same time, we want to test the technical mechanisms that drive the community-based staking consensus mechanisms, all without putting any of the real assets at risk while we perform these tests, right? So we want to prepare the community to get them familiarized and prepped for this mechanism, and we want to test the technical aspects of this mechanism, right? So this is going to be the main focus. We're going to talk a lot more in detail about what this means. What does community staking-based consensus mean? Okay. The second one is to really harden the network security, reliability, and performance. And the reason why obviously we want to do that is we have this upcoming native token conversion, and we want the network to be able to host decentralized applications, which are becoming increasingly demanding in modern days, right, in the crypto world. So we're going to be doing a lot of stress testing, and a lot of that is going to involve the community's help, your help, and we want to make sure that it is secure, it is reliable, and it's performant, so that we don't run into any troubles, and that we have a sustainable growth on the ecosystem. And the third one is, of course, to receive native Terra token conversion from the ERC20s that are currently on Ethereum. So we want to get rid of the ERC20s. We want to convert all of that onto native tokens in the Taraxa network. All right. So these are the three primary purposes for the existence of the Mainnet Candidate. Okay. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time really diving into number one, right? What is this community-driven, community staking-based consensus? What does that mean, right? What does it mean in terms of mechanism? And what does that mean for stakers? What does that mean for node operators? Okay. All right. So in order to figure out what has changed, well, let's figure out how did things work beforehand, right? So staking before was actually pretty simple, right? Stakers, they would stake their Terra, and they would go into a staking contract on Ethereum. The foundation would look at the staking contract on Ethereum, and it would calculate, how much was staked and how long it was staked, and just issue yields to the staker, right? So pretty simple, right? There's really not much to it. And note that here that the staking is really isolated, right? It's really on its own. It's not really connected to consensus. It's not really connected to the Taraxa network at all. It's basically just staking for staking's sake, right? Okay, so staking on the Mainnet Candidate is where we're actually connecting staking with operating a node on the Mainnet Candidate, right? So this is actually putting the stake to work, right? So on this Mainnet Candidate, you still have the stakers staking their Taraxa onto the staking contract on Ethereum. But at the same time, after they've done that, after the stakers have done that, they must now delegate that stake to a node or more than one node, right? They need to delegate that stake into a validator that is on the mainnet candidate, right? Through the delegation contract that resides on the mainnet candidate, right? So they delegate their stake, goes through the delegation contract. It goes into the validators on the mainnet candidate who receives that stake. They receive that delegation, right? And then as the network churns, right, as the network operates and makes progress forward, they generate rewards, right, for these validators. And these rewards are then split between the stakers and the node operators. The node operators would take their commission and the stakers would take the remaining of the yield, right? So the foundation would, instead of just reading purely from the staking contract, it would now figure out, well, what the rewards should be based on the performance, right? Based on the network's generated rewards, and then it would send the yields to the stakers. Okay, so that's how this is going to work on the mainnet candidate. How staking will work on the mainnet candidate. And really notice that, you know, there's an Ethereum part of it and there's a Taraxa part of it. So any part that deals with the actual Ethereum Terra tokens, right? So that's still on the Ethereum part of it. And then anything that has to deal with the actual consensus, the actual node operations, the delegation, that is on the Taraxa network. So there is a little bridge between the Ethereum staking contract as well as the delegation contract on the mainnet candidate, right? So the mainnet candidate is aware and is able to validate the delegation commands it receives from the stakers. So this helps us, like we said before, simultaneously we're able to help the participants familiarize themselves with mechanisms, right? So help the stakers familiarize with delegation, help the node operators familiarize themselves with the node operations on the mainnet candidate, and at the same time test the technical mechanisms on the mainnet candidate, the economic mechanisms that actually go into delegation and generation of rewards. We can do all of this on the mainnet candidate without putting any real assets at risk, right? That's very, very key here. So we're testing everything, you know, user behavior, we're testing technical mechanisms, all without putting any assets at stake, all right, at risk, right? Sorry, not at stake, putting assets at risk. So that's really the reason why we're doing this, okay? All right, so here's something that I think everyone is very interested in. So how do yields work, right? So before, yields are pretty simple. It's just, you know, 20% annualized, and they all go to the stakers, right? Because staking and consensus were disconnected. They weren't really connected at all, right? So all of it goes to stakers, simple 20% annualized. So now the stakers, there's a thing missing here. The stakers now need to share that 20% annualized yield with the node operators, right? And that the node operators will charge a commission once the stakers delegate to them. And I apologize for not marking this, but the orange part is really the node operators, right? They are charging a commission. They're charging a commission here. Okay. So very important here is that delegation is now required to earn yields, which means if you stake and you don't delegate, you don't earn any yields, right? So you have to start delegating in order to earn yields. So this is very, very, very important. Staking doesn't mean anything if you're not putting that stake to work, right? So the reason why we stake is because obviously in the DPoS system, you need stake in the system in order to create eligibility, right, for nodes to participate in consensus. And that is the primary way a DPoS system guards against Sybil attacks, right? So you have to delegate your stake in order to earn yields, okay? But of course, you know, we realize that, you know, there needs to be a grace period, right? In any sort of decentralized system, ecosystem, when you introduce a change like this, it takes a while for everyone to find out about it. And especially given that we launched this during the holiday season, I'm sure a lot of people are probably still on vacation at this point. So we're definitely going to have a grace period, and we're going to make announcements on when that hard cutoff will be. But so far, we're not going to enforce this just yet. We're going to see what the community's feedback is, what the comment is, how many people actually delegated, how many mainnet candidate node operators there are. We're going to do more outreach, right, to the people who stake. We're going to do more outreach to the excellent node operators we observed on the testnet, so that we can get more adoption towards this new mechanism, right? This community staking-based consensus, right? Connecting the stake and the consensus mechanism together. Okay, so we did see a lot of questions on our communities about how yields are actually calculated, right? I think there was a lot of confusion about what exactly this commission actually means. So here's a very, very, very simple example of how yields are calculated. So let's say that Alex stakes 1 million Terra, and then delegates all 1 million Terra into Bob's awesome node, right? So Bob is a node operator. He's operating a node. He's calling it Bob's awesome node, and he receives 1 million Terra delegated from Alice, okay? And Bob has set his node's commission rate to be 5%, right? So in a year, the node earns 20% yield, right? 20% annualized yield. So 20% times the 1 million means 200,000 Terra, right? So that's the whole total amount of Terra that this node has earned based on its delegation in a year. So who gets what, right? So Bob charges 5%, so he gets 5% of that 200,000, right? So that's 10,000 Terra. That goes to Bob, for his services rendered in operating that node. The remaining 95% of the 200,000, which is 190,000, that goes to Alice, right? So that goes to Alice. So that's it. Very, very straightforward. Very, 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 very simple. Okay. Now, there is one point here that I want to emphasize is that going forward, there will be a need for stakers to pay close attention to the yields, to the actual realized yields that are actually achieved by the node operators, right? So for example, if I were, like let's say Bob is really great. He's running a really awesome node. He has 100% uptime. He meets the minimum system requirements. He's producing blocks regularly. And that just means that, he's earning the 20%, right, that he's supposed to earn. Let's say I ran a node, right? Let's say Steven ran a node, and I don't know what I'm doing. I turn, sometimes it crashes. I just don't notice it. I neglect it, right? And it has very poor uptime. I don't upgrade it when everyone else upgrades. I don't fix the bugs. I don't pay any attention to it. So I'm going to earn significantly less than 20%, right? Because yields happen in block rewards. So if I'm not producing proportionally to my delegation, the amount of blocks that I'm supposed to produce, because my uptime is poor or whatever other reason, right? Lots of different reasons, then I will not earn 20%. I will earn much less than 20%, right? So say if Alice delegated to me, she'll say, well, wait a minute, what's going on with Steve, right? Steven's node is really, really poor. It's really bad. It's not earning me the yield that I'm supposed to be earning. So I'm going to stop delegating to Steven. I'm going to go back to Bob because he's awesome, right? He has 20%. He keeps the node up, no problems, So please pay close attention to your node's performance. And over time, we hope that node operators can start building their social profile or their community ecosystem profile with stakers, so that people will know, hey, these are, these set of 100 node operators or 50 node operators are actually very trustworthy and reliable because their nodes always give me the 20% that we need, right? Okay. And here are some helpful resources to get everyone started. The first one on the left side is the step-by-step guide to participating in the Mainnet Candidate. We have in the middle a FAQ for the Mainnet Candidate, all the questions that we're seeing in the community or we've anticipated we'll see people ask in the community. And then on the right side, of course, we have our Discord server where you can take all your staking, all your node operations related questions, right? So that's where all the technical discussions go to. All right, so now it's time for Q&A. So let's end this presentation here. Let's see, stop sharing. Let's see if we have any questions. Yeah, if you want, so someone asked if they could actually ask their questions in Chinese. Yeah, go ahead and ask your question in Chinese. I will answer in English, of course, because that's where most people can understand. Okay. Could you please, so this is from Anonymous, could you please explain about block rewards? Are new tokens created as part of block rewards, or those will be from existing 10 billion? Yeah. So rewards come in two parts, right? So please go back and read the, I think the FAQ covers that, right? So rewards come in two parts. The first part of it comes from staking yields, right? So in they come in block rewards. So the block rewards are minted, right? Based on the delegation. So they are created as part of the block rewards. Okay. I think a lot of people are very concerned about the overall inflation of the system, right? So just to give you a quick example of how much inflation we're going to get. So I think right now we have around a little bit over 250 million Terra staked. And if all of those, right, if all of those things become delegated, right? So let's do a quick calculation. So let's get out this calculator here. So we have 250 million. All of that, it will earn an annualized yield of 20%. So that's going to be 50 million, right? So that's going to be 50 million per year. And 50 million per year is 0.5% inflation per year, okay? So it's really not that much, right? It's really not that much inflation. So in the foreseeable future, overall system-wide, the inflation will be very, very low because of that specific reason, okay? Now, whether or not this 20% is going to be perpetual is something I think the community at large needs to give us feedback on as well. You know, should we taper it off over time or have some other type of mechanism to actually reduce the inflation over time, right? So that's something that we need to discuss. But as of right now, because there really aren't that much Terra in circulation and there really aren't that much Terra being staked, the inflation is really a non-issue, okay? So what is the difference and advantage are there between delegating to one node compared to another in addition to the commission, right? So I explained that a little bit during our presentation. I'll cover this again. So because the rewards are calculated inside blocks, right? So if your node, let's say your node has, 1 million delegation, right? So then your node is supposed to produce blocks and receive rewards that's equivalent to 20% of that 1 million over the course of a year. Now, if for some reason your node is not doing well, it's not performing well, it gets turned off all the time, it uses a shared cloud service that doesn't actually give you the minimum required system resources, or for whatever other reason you don't upgrade, the node operator is negligent, it's not upgrading, then this node will not produce the number of blocks it's supposed to produce or it's eligible to produce because of technical incompetence. So if that happens, then the yields will go down. Okay. Now we do realize that we're still in a testing phase, right? So as of right now, what we're doing is that we're closely monitoring these economic mechanisms on the network, right? So we're trying to figure out hey, is this problem that's actually causing a node or many nodes to produce less the number of blocks than they're supposed to? Is that a problem with the code, or is that a problem with the node operator, right? So, and there are still bugs, right? On the network, I'm sure there's still bugs that we haven't found yet. So we're monitoring it very, very, very closely to make sure that it's really not the fault. If it's not the fault of the node operators, then we won't actually put this mechanism in place. We won't actually go by the amount of block rewards that are being produced. Okay. So that's something that we're paying a very, very close eye on, and want to make sure that we're, the way that this is tabulated is fair, right? Because if it's a fault with the code, that doesn't make sense, to actually give out less rewards, because that's really our development team's problem, right? We need to fix it. Yeah. So actually, I would actually, just one more point. I would actually say that a node's uptime and reliability, and in general, just technical competence, is actually even more important than commission, right? Because if you have someone who has good uptime, that's technically competent, that's probably worth more, right? I mean, it's probably worth more to pay a few percentage more to that node because it's so competent, right? So someone's asking whether or not Terra will produce games. We're not really in the game making business. So apologies if you were expecting that. That's a very large shift away from what we're currently doing, which is informal transactions. Now, we are building a social listening platform that taps into social networks of all kind, eventually including networks within gaming, right? So that's going to be able to be useful in determining all kinds of trends and reputations within whatever social ecosystem that you do get into. But we're not going to be making games. That's really outside the realm of our roadmap. Can we tell you a little bit more about the ecosystem after the mainnet goes live? So the primary, once again, the primary platform that we actually really want to push out to the crypto community is the social listening platform. And the social listening platform is really an extension of our overall theme of making formal transactions useful by making it trustworthy, right? So we think that a lot of data actually resides in the informal transactions and interactions that people have on social, right? So in Telegram, in Discord, on Reddit, or even on Twitter, right? And this kind of data is largely, I would say, wasted because they're not really well quantified, they're not really well captured, and they're not done in a way that people would trust that data. In other words, they're not captured and analyzed in a decentralized way. So we think there are lots of interesting applications you can build on top of that. And so that's as much as I'll say about that. And we're doing heavy development, and we're going to be doing testing and market testing based on this idea. And yeah, we'll let you guys know once we have something a little bit more polished to show. The B2B applications that we were making before, they're not, they don't, a normal person, right, would not really be able to use them because they're so specialized towards specific industry verticals. And a lot of the corporate customers that we've been working with, they have a lot of privacy concerns, so they don't necessarily also want some details of these application platforms revealed to the general public either. So so there's a lot of restrictions and disadvantages for B2B application platforms when it comes to interacting with a larger, more generalized crypto community. So that's why we're spending a lot of time developing this social listening application platform, which is general facing, right, to everyone within the community. Do you planning to develop your own mobile Taraxa wallet? Well, for now, I think because the Taraxa network has backwards compatibility with the RPC specifications that's on Ethereum, our network does work with with MetaMask. So for now, we don't have any short to medium term plans to developing our own wallet because it takes away significant development time away from developing the application platform, right? So that's really not a priority. Now there are significant differences, obviously, because our blockchain was built from scratch between Ethereum and Taraxa, right? There's lots of differences between the way we calculate latency or inclusion latency, finalization, lots of those things. So just using MetaMask, yes, it works, right? There's nothing wrong with it, technically speaking, but it doesn't really showcase a lot of the advantages that Taraxa has over something like an Ethereum. So maybe long term down the road, we will. I think we probably will partner with someone else who has a lot more experience and who actually build wallets for a living, right? I think that would probably make a lot more sense, and the foundation would probably fund someone else to actually do something like this. But yeah, so that's really the plan. So in short to medium term, we're not going to spend time building our own wallet because MetaMask works just fine. Okay. All right. So there seems to be some questions in the chat as well. Those are. Okay. All right. So I guess those are all the questions. Let's see if there are any other questions that online. Nope. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you very much for your ongoing support of the Taraxa project and its ecosystem. Oh, I see. There's another question here. When Binance, and what is the connection of Taraxa with Web3? Well, I can't really say much about exchange listings because that's something that the foundation does, and they don't really talk about that with me or anyone else. Because it's those discussions are always under NDA. What is the connection of Taraxa with Web3? Well, so Web3 I think is a term that's being used to describe decentralized applications in general, right? So Taraxa is a layer 1 ecosystem, which means that we actually build the infrastructure to enable Web3 applications. And we will also be building Web3 applications. We built Web3 applications, and we will keep building Web3 applications. For example, the social listening platform that we were talking about, that provides a decentralized, trustworthy source of data and analysis from social platforms, right, from the metaverse. So yeah, we build both infrastructure and applications within the Web3 ecosystem. Hopefully that's clear. All right, so thanks everyone, and I'll see you during the next AMA. And as usual, if you have any questions or concerns or just want to chat, drop by our Discord server and drop by our Telegram group. Thanks.